Could you imagine the possibility that someone could use another human being as a television stand? Unbelievably, this is exactly what happened. Nathan Robinson was 27 years old when this occurred. He has a degree in mathematics and lived with his father, William Spiller, 48, in a flat in Bournemouth, a coastal area in the south of England. William was a taxi driver. He was better known as Big Bill because he was a big man, approximately 1.9 meters tall, weighing around 150 kilos. He had a girlfriend called Glenys Molyneaux. Nathan's mother lived in another town. Nathan didn't have a steady job. He was living with his father without contributing to the household expenses. His father had lent him money, and Nathan swore he would pay it back. But this didn't happen. Big Bill wanted his son to have his own house and be independent. Due to this situation, their relationship was troubled. The two would fight from time to time. At times, even the neighbours heard them arguing. On the night of May 16, 2013, William and Nathan had another fight. Noise could be heard coming from the flat. The voices were muffled, but a neighbour downstairs could hear William saying something like, "Do you think I'm going to support you all my life?" And then a few minutes later, he shouted, "Call an ambulance!" All went quiet, and this neighbour decided to go upstairs to see if everything was okay, and Nathan opened the door. He said everything was fine, they had made up. He said his father was out visiting his girlfriend. The next day, everything seemed normal. William spoke to his girlfriend via text message. Nathan paid the rent for the flat with his father's money, did the weekly shopping, and cleaned the apartment. The downstairs neighbour noticed a pink stain on his ceiling later that day, but it disappeared over the next few days. Weeks later, Nathan travelled to meet his mother, gave her money, and then went on a trip with friends. Glenys had also been talking to William via text message for a few weeks. She wanted to see him, but he said he was very busy, working a lot, and always made up some excuse. She became suspicious and called him, but he didn't answer the phone. He stopped answering her texts. When Glenys called Nathan, he said he didn't know where his father was because he wasn't at home. He was away with friends. Nathan finished his trip and went to stay in Mother's house. On the one hand, Glenys thought that her boyfriend was making excuses because maybe he wanted to end their relationship. But on the other hand, it just didn't make sense. She began to suspect something strange, and so, after about a month without seeing him in person, Glenys decided to call the police and ask them to go to his house just to check if everything was okay. Some people may find it strange that she didn't see her boyfriend for a month and didn't do anything about it. But they are adults, with children, with different responsibilities. They are not teenagers who have that romantic charm and need to see each other all the time. They were almost 50 years old, and both were happy to have a companion, even if they didn't see each other all the time. On June 17th, as soon as the police approached the apartment, they started to get a rotten smell. They had a good idea what this stench was. The police spoke to the neighbour downstairs who reported that he hadn't seen his upstairs neighbours in almost a month. He said that the last time he had contact with them was on the day of the fight. He emphasised that he didn't see William, only Nathan that day. He also thought that William was travelling. As his taxi was not in the area, he said he suspected that the smell was due to them not putting their rubbish out before they went away. The police found it all very suspicious and decided to break down the door to get in. When they entered the apartment, the police were shocked by the number of flies there. They were all concentrated on plastic boxes in the living room, right below the television. As soon as they opened the first box, they found a piece of a human body. All the boxes were opened, and it was clear that this was a dismembered body which had been cut up and divided into these boxes. Pieces of clothing and some suspicious items such as a pocket knife, knives and a saw were also found inside the boxes. However, the head wasn't there. It was inside another box, on one of the shelves in the living room closet. The state of putrefaction of the body was very advanced. In addition to the flies, several larvae emerged from the boxes when they were opened. The body was decomposed so badly it was impossible to recognize. Identity could only be confirmed through dental records. And yes, the dismembered body was that of William Spiller, Nathan's father. Nathan was located at his mother's house the following day, June 18th, and was arrested on murder charges. When informed of the arrest, the only thing he said was, "Is this some kind of joke?" He denied everything and said he didn't even know that his father was missing. He said he hadn't spoken to him in a month since he left home for his holiday. The evidence was very strange. William's mobile phone and car were missing. If the car had been stolen by a third party, the thief would have had to open and close the door of the apartment with a key in order to get the car key, and there was no sign of a break-in. The investigative team looked for evidence to prove that Nathan was the one responsible for his father's death. After listening to several witnesses and collecting evidence, the following theory was put together, and what I'm going to report now is a mixture of true events, information collected in the investigation, and police assumptions to connect it all together. Nathan actually owed his father a significant amount of money. On the night of May 16th, they began to fight about this, and in a moment of fury, Nathan attacked his father with a heavy blow that must have knocked him out. It could not be confirmed exactly what type of blow, as the autopsy was inconclusive due to the advanced decomposition of the body. After immobilizing him, Nathan killed him, dismembered him, and placed his cut-up body into boxes, which were then used as a TV stand. The following day, he stole £8,000 from his father, paid the rent in order to buy time with the landlord, so that he would not come to the apartment looking for it. He also purchased cleaning materials, then returned to the property to clean up all the blood, which had seeped through the ceiling, so that the neighbour below could see the pink stain. He took his father's mobile phone and continued to send messages to his girlfriend pretending to be his father. Nobody knows what happened to the taxi. Perhaps he got rid of it in a lake or river. He then travelled with his mother for a vegan weekend in Bristol, and after that he went to Scotland with some friends where he spent a significant amount of money on drinks, drugs and call girls. At some point he destroyed his father's mobile phone. He returned from the trip and stayed at his mother's house until he was arrested. These facts made the most sense, but Nathan still denied everything. He had no alibi. That same year, the lawyer requested that Nathan undergo psychological assessment to try to identify some type of mental disorder. The court case began the following year, in 2014. By this time, he had changed his plea. He pleaded not guilty to the murder charge, but pleaded guilty to the dismemberment. He simply said that as far as he remembers, when he arrived home, he found his father dead, and that everyone would think it was him. Since everyone knew about his difficult relationship with his father, he thought it best to dismember his father and hide everything instead of calling the police. He added that he had no problem doing so due to the anger he felt as a result of sexual abuse inflicted on him as a child by his own father. Nothing about the father's abuse can be proven. He was obviously trying to get a lenient sentence by adding in this information about the alleged abuse. The results of the psychological examinations presented in court confirmed that he showed signs of anxiety and depression, but no signs of a mental illness. In November 2014, the jury were unanimous in their agreement. It took them just an hour and a half to decide that Nathan was guilty and sentenced him to life imprisonment. When the sentence was being read, he did not express any emotion. Nathan did not appeal the trial decision and remains in prison to this day.